up, it's Steve from the Old Yorkshire Geek, and we've got some news concerning Miss Gina Carano. An article from That Park Place, John F. Trent, who seems to have jumped over from Bounding into Comics to That Park Place, or maybe he's still connected with both. I don't know, but he's writing for That Park Place now. Anyway, remember Gina Carano filed a lawsuit against Disney and Lucasfilm for unfair dismissal sort of thing. You know, when she were not picked up, a contract was not picked up to go forward for more Mandalorians and Rangers of the New Republic and all that because of her social media content. And a lot of people agreed with Disney. A lot of people disagreed with Disney. I'm the one that disagreed. I'm in the Gina Carano camp. She said nothing wrong, in my opinion. It's all about freedom of speech and all that. And she just stated, we'll get to it, I think, but she just stated historical fact, documented fact. That's what she said. So if you've got a problem with that, then that's your problem. Anyway. So let's have a look at this article, shall we? But before we start, don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. I'm on Facebook, X and Instagram. Links are in the description for all that stuff. As I've linked to my 2 books, you can have a look at those if you want to. It's just a bit of fun. And also, fingers crossed, there'll be like a super thanks button somewhere. So maybe you can just throw some money in my general direction. It'll go towards paying for StreamYards and things like that. Pay the bills, it'll go towards. But anyway, right, so let's get on with this news item. So here we go, there it is. Hang on, I forgot to go full screen, didn't I? Never mind, there we go. I'm recording this as live, but it's fine. Right, so That Park Place, John F. Trent. The Walt Disney Company files to dismiss Gina Carano's lawsuit and argues the First Amendment provides a complete defence. Surely doesn't the First Amendment also provide a complete prosecution or whatever from Gina Carano's side? Because she's free to say what she wants, isn't she? Anyway, and there she is as Cara Dune. Right, the Walt Disney Company filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit brought by Gina Carano against the company and argued the First Amendment provides a complete defence against Carano's claims. Carano, with the help of Elon Musk and X, sued the Walt Disney Company at the beginning of February. The lawsuit is a civil action arising from defendants' wrongful termination of Carano's employment in retaliation for Carano's lawful exercise of her right to speak and express her views. Specifically, defendants under the regime of former Disney CEO Bob Chapek fired Carano because of her posts on various social media platforms, including X, formerly known as Twitter. Carano composed and published the posts while she was off duty and away from the workplace, end quote. Excuse me. The suit also alleged defendants terminated Carano's employment and took other retaliatory actions to limit and deny her future employment opportunities, including but not limited to making maliciously false statements about Carano with the intention of damaging her reputation and thus her ability to find and retain work, end quote. Which is true. That's exactly what happened, isn't it? They sullied her good name, essentially. All because of her political opinions, what they thought were her political opinions. But she was just basically stating historical fact. It also stated, quote, defendants treated Carano differently than her similarly situated male co-workers who likewise expressed their personal political views on social media, but upon information and belief were not counselled or disciplined, let alone terminated, end quote. For instance, Pedro Pascal, who did social media posts likening Trump supporters to, Civil War Confederates and essentially, people who follow that German leader from the 1930s and 40s. Because I don't know if you can say that word. We live in a topsy-turvy world, don't we? But anyway. And he didn't get into trouble for that. But she got into trouble for stating historical fact. The lawsuit specifically accused the Walt Disney Company and Lucasfilm of, quote, wrongful discharge, quote, wrongful discharge and refusal to hire, and, quote, sex discrimination. Carano is asking for preliminary and permanent injunctive relief requiring defendants to reinstate Carano to her prior position with no loss of pay or benefits. To be honest, I'm not sure if she really wants that, but it's symbolic, innit? A judgment declaring that defendants' termination of Carano's employment was unlawful and in violation of California law, compensatory damages, including but not limited to loss of pay from the date of termination to the date of reinstatement, in an amount to be determined at trial, but exceeding $75,000. Compensatory damages for loss of future employment, including but not limited to the promised role in Rangers of the New Republic, in an amount to be determined at trial. Emotional distress damages in an amount to be determined at trial. Punitive damages in an amount to be determined at trial. It's all very legalese, isn't it? Reasonable attorney's fees and costs, and such other and further relief as the court may deem just and proper. Now, the Walt Disney Company and Huckleberry Industries, the production company of The Mandalorian, I didn't even know that, anyway, filed a motion to dismiss Carano's suit. The motion states, Disney makes this motion on the grounds that Disney has a constitutional right not to associate its artistic expression with Carano's speech, such that the First Amendment provides a complete defence of Carano's claims. The motion to dismiss also confirms, but surely that also means that Gina Carano's free to say what she likes and not get fired for it. Anyway, the motion to dismiss also confirms that the Walt Disney Company fired Carano over a social media post that she shared to her Instagram stories that was previously shared by Warrior Priest Jim Podcast. The post reads, I'll do a disclaimer. This is not my personal opinion or whatever. I'm just reading what it says in the article. Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbours, even by children. The post then shares a quote which reads, because history is edited, most people today don't realise that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbours hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? Which is 100% true and accurate. Along with this text, it included an image of a woman in undress being chased by youths with blunt objects. And there it is. That's the social media post in question. Is it? I think is it an Instagram post? I think it might be. So there we go. Because that's what happened, in history. In Germany, the government, basically told the people that, a certain segment of their population were undesirable, and mostly because the people were so terrified of the police state that Germany had become, they just went along with it, didn't they? Sometimes through maliciousness and sometimes through fear. Anyway, the motion states, quote, the coup de grace came in February 2021 when Carano admittedly reposted on Instagram a post comparing criticism of politically conservative viewpoints to the Holocaust in Nazi Germany. It adds, Carano's decision to publicly trivialise the Holocaust by comparing criticism of political conservatives to the annihilation of millions of Jewish people, notably not thousands, was the final straw for Disney, as Carano alleges. Lucasfilm that same day denounced her statements and observed that it had no plans to employ her in the future. So they're saying that her using that as an example was essentially overkill. It was an exaggeration of what was going on in America at that time. But sometimes you've got to use hyperbole to get a point across. That's what she was doing, wasn't she? Anyway. As for its claim that the First Amendment bars Carano's claims, the motion states Carano's claims are all barred by the First Amendment, as the Supreme Court held in Hurley versus Irish American Gay, Lesbian and Bisexual Group of Boston, 515 U.S. 557, 1995. The First Amendment embodies a core principle of speaker's autonomy that bars the state from dictating to expressive enterprises what to say, how to say it, and whom to say it through. Legalese. It continues as the court further held in Boy Scouts of America versus Dale 530 US 642,000 that principle means that a state cannot force an employer engaged in speech to speak through an employee whose own views or public profile could compromise the employer's own message, even if the employee does not express her views on the job. Which is all well and good, the saying, basically saying an employee shouldn't compromise their employer's status or whatever. She's basically bringing the company down with her, social media posts. That's what they're saying. But that doesn't explain how Pedro Pascal could get away with what he was doing. He did exactly the same thing, didn't he? He compared Trump supporters to, basically Nazis. That's what he did, and he didn't do anything wrong, did he? That's what they're saying. But yet Gina Carano points out something that happened in history and compares it to what's happening now, albeit in a hyperbolic way. And she gets fired for it, essentially. Her contract was not renewed. So it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, and do as I say, not as I do. That's essentially what it's a case of. Right, finally, the motion asserts what state law cannot do, however, is force entities that do create speech products to speak through writers or singers or actors whose own speech and public profile could, in the employer's view, that's the main thing, in the employer's view, compromise. So the employers obviously agreed with Pedro Pascal's social media posts. So obviously Disney and Lucasfilm agree with him that Trump supporters are essentially Nazis. Compromise the employer's ability to express itself in its own chosen manner. Carano's suit contravenes that rule. No, it don't. It is an impermissible effort to invoke state power to override a private entity's decisions about what to say in its own art and how to say it. The complaint should be dismissed, Disney concludes. What do you make of Disney's motion to dismiss Carano's lawsuit? I think it's nonsense. It's legalese. They're trying to tie up in knots, what really happened, and conveniently not mentioning other Disney employees and their political views, that nothing happened to those people, basically because the company agreed. I'm going to leave that there. Basically because the company agreed with their political views. So essentially, it was a political act that they thought she was an undesirable person politically, and they didn't want her working for their company anymore. So they got rid of her. They didn't fire her. They didn't pick up her contract moving forward, which is what's the word? Discrimination. It's discriminatory, isn't it? That's what it is. When they do that to one person but not to another, simply because that other person holds a view that is not contrary to the company's beliefs. So anyway, I've got that off my chest. I think Gina Carano did nothing wrong. I also think that Pedro Pascal did nothing wrong. You're allowed to say what you want, in my opinion. If people take offence, that's their problem, isn't it? And take it up with the person that's taken. There should be a discourse, shouldn't there? Not just firings and destroying a person's livelihood and all that. So the progressive left is all about destroying people, isn't it? Which is weird. I'm neither left nor right or centre or anything. I just want people to be nice to each other all the time, and I know that can't happen, but that's what I'd like to see. But obviously that's not realistic, I suppose. And there's basically the shitheads out there, isn't there? I'm sorry for swearing. I don't often swear, do I? But it annoys me. It really gets me angry. That there's hypocrites and people who just do things for their own agenda instead of thinking of others, and it really gets me cross. So we'll leave it there. By the way, there's another example in my live news, my latest live news thing. My final story were about a friend of mine, Dan Gillespie, who was a cosplayer. And he's famous in various conventions because he goes to the conventions in usually in his stormtrooper outfits. He's got costumes, uniforms, whatever, armour. And he walks about the towns and stuff dressed as a stormtrooper. People take his photos. People have photos taken with him, and all that stuff. But somebody took offence on a train and reported him to the police. So he had several hours where he couldn't get to this convention, and it really upset him. The police grilled him. Essentially, it ended up being, they thought it were a storm in a teacup sort of thing, and they said because he had his blaster, Star Wars blaster. Stormtroopers carry blasters, don't they? But he wasn't carrying it; it was in a holster. But somebody thought it was a real gun, a stormtrooper. They think it was some sort of Al Qaeda stormtrooper. I don't bloody know. So, has Dan got a record now? I don't know, but and it really upset him, and he was close to packing it all in because of that. In the 10 years he's been doing it, it's never happened before. So that's another example of somebody taking umbrage with something innocent, and how can you think somebody in cosplay is going to hurt people? Dan's never hurt anybody in his life, as far as I know. But that's by the by. That's just another example of this mad world we live in. But anyway, I'm all for Gina Carano. I hope she wins with Elon Musk's help and his billions of dollars. And I hope they bring Disney to heel, and I hope she gets justice, essentially, and all that. But, Disney's a $1 trillion corporation, and it's about billionaires fighting each other now, isn't it? In like Elon Musk's a billionaire, Disney's a trillionaire corporation. Who will win? I had no idea. But I hope it's Gina. So anyway, right, we'll leave it there. Right, so got that off my chest. So, thanks for watching. Wherever you are, look after each other, and until next time, I'll see thee.